And hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cyrus Webb Presents here on Amazon Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. We are also simulcasting our broadcast today, so we welcome those tuning in on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter. Glad you all could be with us as well. On the Amazon side, though, if you guys are new to us, welcome. Make sure you guys hit that follow button. You'll see it either here in this corner or down below. You will also see the books from our next guest. We're excited to welcome back Dr. Teresa A. Smith. You guys know her as Dr. Taz. We're going to talk to her not only about the year that's been 2023 for her, but also the year of transformation that she's been able to experience herself. But also she writes about in her book. She has this one. You guys can see it there in the carousel. Have it highlighted for you guys. That's the original Transformation. That's book one. And then there is Transformation, the Bounce Back. We're going to talk to Dr. Taz not only about what it's been like for her to share her journey, but also what our hope is for all of you going into 2024. Dr. Taz, welcome back to the broadcast.
Thank you so much, Cyrus, for having me.
Well, look, it is always a pleasure talking with you, and we always forget that the world is watching us when we get together because, for one, this is when we're able to have, I think, our most in-depth conversations,
Yes.
but also, I think, to be real with ourselves and the audience. I want to begin by asking you what may seem like a simple question, but I think it's an important question for all of us to look in the mirror and to ask ourselves, how are you?
Cyrus, that is the question we should check in with ourselves at least 3 times a day: morning, midday, and then the evening hour. Well, 4 times. And then when we're shutting it down in the end of the night, how are you? For me, I'm better than I was last year this time. So I feel great to be able to even talk about how are you and then the journey to get to where we are in life.
Yeah, love that. Love that. And it's such an important question. It seems so simple, but to be quite honest with you, Todd, as we both know, it's not always easy to be honest with ourselves when we answer or to be honest with other people. Hello to you, Miss Queenie. Good to be able to see you live with us. Also, we have Manswell on Facebook as well. He says, hey, Cyrus and Dr. Taz. And also Melissa's there. She says hello as well. So, you have been able to be transparent with us as you are known for being. But I also love the fact that you have not been afraid to also be vulnerable, Dr. Taz. And I wanted to spend some time, I mentioned this to you before we went live here. I wanted to spend some time talking about the power in our vulnerability. Because I think when we kind of go back to how we met you, and I'm going to highlight your first book in our carousel, that is Stronger. That's the first book we were introduced to. I got to thinking about as I was prepping for this segment that did you realize with this book, even though the title said Stronger and you were stronger, that was not the end?
No, I didn't. I thought that was it. I thought I had one book in me. It's the book that I've been writing since I was a little girl. And once this one was written, I thought that was it. Because I was stronger. I had overcome a lot of trauma. I'm trying to teach myself to celebrate the small wins.
Yeah.
I had gotten an education. At this time, I had 4 degrees. I'm a professional woman. I'm living on my own. I'm taking care of myself. I thought that was it. I didn't realize that stronger, it's a concept that one really is constantly striving for. And you get it, and then life happens. And then you have to strive for it again. And then you're strong again. And then life happens. I just thought, get this book out that you've been wanting to talk about forever. And that's it. And then, as my writing coach would say, the characters or life was talking to me. And then I wrote Transformation, which I cannot get away from, Cyrus.
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah, I love that. And I love the correlation. Hello to you, Tracy. Good to be able to see you on live with us. Tracy O'Neill Horton is also with us as well. And that's why I wanted to bring this up, Dr. Taz, because your books, I think, are a great roadmap and a great reminder. Because you were introduced to the world. I was introduced to you through Stronger. And yet we have been able to see you, especially in the past 2 years, go through now what you have written to us about, which is the transformation. And you continue to go through that transformation. So I want to talk about the connection between being stronger because you have continued to transform. Because you say in transformation, change is challenging. So
Yes.
talk to us about the lesson learned there for you, that in order to become stronger, I have to continue to transform.
Cyrus, and I love when I chat with you because it's so philosophical. But it really, when you phrase that question, it's like, which came first?
Mhm,
Was it the transformation, or was it the stronger, or stronger than transformation? Or
mhm.
is it that our lives are so intertwined that we're living them both simultaneously, but we don't realize it?
Yeah.
um as you were doing your countdown, I had an epiphany, and I'm sorry guys, it's just the way it happens. And I looked at, because I'm working through transformation on IG, and I've been doing some teaching, and this I put out this yesterday about free will, choice, or willing obligation.
Yeah.
I talked about that yesterday offline. I talked about it this morning offline with someone, because it's really a state of mind. Because it is so easy to do things because others want us to do it. And I know a person who's very clear about their lane. And when people bring things to them, if it's not in their lane, they don't even entertain it. I celebrate that person. I'm not going to say who that person is, Cyrus Webb. Well, you know, yeah, I'll get me that. Because he does. And I appreciate
I
that,
appreciate
because you know your lane
it. Mm,
and you stay in it. So let me say it a different way. He knows who he is. He's gone through his transformations. He's still transforming. He's stronger. He gets stronger, but he stays strong, and he continues to transform into this something that we can't even conceive. I don't even know if he can conceive it, because he remains true to who he is. So when you talk about change is challenging, it is, but you got to be strong in order to go through that challenging process. And
yeah.
that's the reason why, I opened up the book, and I'm going to put this out probably on a graphic sometime real soon. Your journey will challenge you in ways you never considered.
Yeah.
And I write that in the book, Transformation. And then I was flipping through, and I'm like, wait a minute. It's going to challenge you in ways you never considered. And I'm still being challenged. There are
Right.
things that I would like to do,
Mhm.
but that's not in my wheelhouse anymore. And that's when we go into that, is it a choice or will an obligation?
Yeah.
And for me right now, Cyrus, in order to epitomize strength, which is stronger, I have to transform, but I have to transform into who I am to be, not who people want me to be or who they say I am.
Exactly. So true. Hello to you, Pele. I want to say hello to you. Pele says hello to you, Dr. Taz. Tina, hello to you. Tina says hello as well. Manswell says, I think about what you were saying about who when you were mentioning to me. He says, I was going to say, and Pele says, amen. And that is the thing. And that's why I think if you guys have not gotten um, Dr. Taz's books or Teresa's books, I really invite you guys to do that. But I would actually tell you to start with transformation.
Yeah.
Start with transformation and then go to stronger. So you
Mhm.
can see the comparison
Yeah.
between, because she shared a lot in this book.
Mhm.
She really released herself
Mhm.
and shared a bit of her story with us. But what I love, Taz, is that what you have embraced with transformation, and now with transformation, the bounce back is to realize your story is not over. And that brings up a good point. You mentioned the degrees and all of your success rightfully deserved. But I think one thing we as human beings forget is that we do not graduate.
No.
We will forever be students. Talk to us about how that has humbled you, Dr. Tosh, to know that with all of your accolades,
Mm.
with all that you have done, you are still a student.
And I think I'm a student of life
Mhm.
now, Cyrus. And for me, at this season in my life, it is learning to say no,
Yeah.
learning to evaluate opportunities based upon the value they bring, not the value I'm going to bring to it, but what value does it bring to me?
Yeah.
It's the return on investment.
Yes.
But it's like I've got to take my academic mind, make it a living human mind in order to make decisions. And I know that's so muddy. It's just like, what is she trying to say? If I was doing a job, I would be able to make those decisions, and I'd make them like that. But when it comes to me personally, I act, as I told someone, don't act out of your emotions.
Yeah.
You're not acting out of your intellect. I'm
Mhm.
acting out of my emotions instead of my intellect. And when my intellect clicks in, it's like, that's a great idea. But what are you going to have to give up
Yeah.
to take that on? Are you willing to do that? You know the consequences. So again, I think that you're right, Cyrus. It's amazing how life happens. Really, it was transformation. Then
Mhm.
it should have been stronger because the degrees are great,
Yeah.
but it was a transformation that makes the degrees possible. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, for sure. Pele says, yes, be the change you want to see and not what others want to see. And yet,
Absolutely.
with that being said, and this is what made me think when I was prepping for this segment with Dr. Taz, and this is why I love talking with her. We've known each other now for quite some
Mhm.
time. And, we are always real with one another. When she talked about the importance of no, that is part of my superpower is being able to say
Yes,
that with
he says it.
confidence uh,
Mhm.
and with no hesitation.
And
you
don't
know,
think about it
but
after that.
right,
Right.
exactly. And can sleep peacefully at night.
Yes.
But yet, I want to read you something, Dr. Taz, that you
Mhm.
wrote in Stronger in chapter 6. The chapter, ironically, is seeing clearly, maintaining the right perspective. That is a perfect connection to transformation. This
Yes.
is what you said in your very first book, Dr. Taz. I can clearly see who I am and who I am not. The
Mhm.
confidence to see clearly has led to tremendous empowerment and personal resolve. When I woke up from the days of allowing friends and acquaintances to dictate who I would be, I began to concentrate not just on what I saw, but how I viewed each situation. And
Mhm.
I think that is what so many people, that's that transformation,
Mhm.
right? That you've been able to experience. So, what has it been like for you to have experienced this, to have learned it, and to keep learning it, but now to
Mhm.
share that, Dr. Todd? Because one thing you do with social media is you're sharing that, as you mentioned with that clip that you posted. What has it been like for you to take these lessons that you have learned and are still learning and
Mhm.
to share them with us?
Cyrus, it's a tremendous responsibility. I think it was a pastor that said many moons ago, and I'm going to butcher it, do as I say, not as I do. I
Mhm.
cannot advocate for people to transform if I'm not transforming.
Yeah.
So, as you said, it's lifelong learning, and so to be able to work with individuals, coach them, talk to folks through social media about how change can occur, and it's going to be a lonely road sometimes. The journey will challenge you in ways that you never imagined, because
Yeah.
sometimes it's going to be lonely. Because once you, as Panay was saying, when you start changing for you versus being what other people want you to do or to be, it's lonely because now you don't add value to them and they drop you
Mhm.
like a hot potato.
Yeah.
But T.D. Jakes would say he's got the gift of goodbye. And the scripture that he uses with that is they went out from us, but they were not of us. But if they'd been of us, surely they would have continued on with us. Well, if they're
Mhm.
not continuing with you, you've lost nothing. You have been liberated. Thank them and wish them a good day and move
Yeah.
on. And that in and of itself is so pivotal to life, whether it's personal or professional or just internal. Being able to be secure in what you've learned and when you implement it, not pull back because you get a little friction from folks.
Yeah. Now, Dr. Tazi, you brought this up. I wasn't planning on going here, but you brought up an interesting thing that is going to step on some toes.
Mhm.
But I have to say it because Dr. Taz mentioned it. So blame her. Don't come
Might
don't
be
come
my
to
turn.
look, okay. Because what you just said flies in the face of what social media teaches us.
Okay.
Social media teaches us the more followers you have,
Yeah.
the better you are.
Hmm.
The more I'm going to look to you, the
Yeah.
more you matter to me, the
Hmm.
more I'm going to comment because you mean something.
Hmm.
Instead of what you just said, which is more scriptural, that sometimes the fewer the better,
Yeah.
and the realer, by the way.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
how do you balance that? Because you are someone who is an authority, you have a platform. How do you balance knowing that and knowing what you've been given to give, but also realizing the value is not in the many, but in the few?
Well, I'm hearing Mike Murdoch said, "My people will." I'm hearing him saying. I've followed Mike Murdoch years before he ever came online on social media. That is, my something will know my voice. It's basically saying, because he's Mike Murdoch, Reverend Dr. Mike Murdoch. He's a minister, and he's all about wisdom.
Yeah.
So he's basically saying that my people will know my voice. They will hear me and they will know. So automatically that's scaled down. Yes, social media wants you to have 100,000 people. Yeah, but you can have 100,000 people, but not impact anyone. I will tell you, Cyrus, well, I can say this. I'm transitioning jobs, guys. I'll tell you what it is in the new year. But yesterday, one of my faculty members sent me a text. And when I read it, I started to cry. And this person listed 10 ways, 10 or 11 ways I impacted his life. And I told him, I said, you made me cry because I wasn't expecting it. And when he laid it out, he basically, and I responded back to him, he said, I did my job. This boy from the hood did his job. He's a doctor. He did his job, and he did, because he touched my humanity, and he told me through every way that I had impacted, not just him personally, not just his immediate family, his extended family, people that I would never know. But because of the role I was playing in his life, he was able to then pay it forward. So my people, my flock will know my voice. So it's okay. Also, I'm just like everybody else. I'm learning about social media, and I've learned that you can have 1 million people following you, and still, if you're trying to monetize it, you're not making the money. You need people following you, that few that get it, because what? I'm not doing this for the money, but I'm not going to turn it down unless it's not good money. I'm going to work with me. But I want to impact people. And if you look at my writings, you know that, because there's scripture always in it, and I can't run away from that. So I'm feeding lambs, but every lamb can't eat from me. So therefore, I know I may never have 1 million followers. I may have 50,000 followers, but I'm making a difference in that 50,000. And then they're making a difference in their 50,000, so on and so on and so on. Yeah. And that's what life should be about, Cyrus.
Such a great point. Deborah says, I keep my grass cut short so I can see the snakes. She also says, be the change you want to see. Such a great point. And Pelly had mentioned earlier about quality versus quantity is best always. And that is such a great point. But as we were just tuning in, welcome. You all are watching Cyrus Webb Presents. I'm here with Dr. Teresa A. Smith, or Dr. Taz, as we like to call her around here. She's the author of several books on the Amazon side. You guys can see them there. It all began with this book. I'll highlight it for you guys in the carousel. That is Stronger. You guys can see that. And from Stronger, we then were able to get her book. That's a ebook, From Bravery to Victory. We have it highlighted for you guys on the Amazon side. After that, we then got this book, Transformation. You guys can see it there. And then after that, we have Transformation, The Bounce Back. And the last book, to lighten things up a bit, we have is something that all of us probably can benefit from, and that is her cookbook, Transform with Taz, Healthy Recipes. I highlighted for you guys in the carousel there. It's available. All of these are available in paperback and Kindle. You guys can get the Kindle edition of her cookbook for $5.99. So I want to talk about that. Dr. Teresa A. Smith has a cookbook. First of all, talk to us about that. I'm curious about what your family had to say. When you told them you were publishing a cookbook, what did your family say?
Well, they've been guinea pigs, and my mother's a hoot. And anyway, she probably don't know that I know this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. She says some of that stuff Teresa be sending up, that it don't be good. And the reason is, guys, but she hasn't told me that. That's what my sister told me. I put a plug in for my new show that's going to be out.
Of course you can.
Well, on Tuesday, January the 9th, I'm going to launch my new show with my sister called Real Talk with Taz and Angelia, or whatever it's called. Bottom line is, it's going to be unscripted. And my sister told me that my mother said that some of that stuff don't be good, but I don't tell her. And the reason is that I eat a certain way because I've had gastric sleeve surgery, but I want good food. but I only get a little bit of that good food. And so it's still got to be healthy. And so I'm always inventing recipes. Now, my mother is the person that taught me to cook, Cyrus. So I don't, she should feel honored that I'm using her recipes or the way she taught me, but I'm changing it up.
Yeah.
But, for most people, they're like, well, she's writing about personal development, and now she's writing a cookbook. But we have to feed our body, mind, and spirit. And it's all about well-being. And I happen to love to cook. I cook to relax. And so I love it. And I've enjoyed it. I get to share a little bit of my fun side when I talk about how I come up with the different recipes and things of that nature. And I'll tell you, it's helped my relationship with my father, because my father's retired and he's gardening is what we call it, but he grows produce and stuff and so on. And so it gives us a connection. And plus, like about 2 years ago, I'd never seen broccoli grown in the ground, guys. I didn't grow up that way. And I was like, oh, so that's what broccoli looks like. So I've learned a lot from him having this quote unquote business after retirement. And so the cookbook, I think, is a good offshoot of everything else. Cyrus, I think, it's also a good analogy. It's sometimes difficult for us to eat properly and exercise, such as change, because that does require change. It is good soul food. I make it a little healthier, but it's still good. And it's change. So when we talk about transformation, I said mind, body, and soul, it all connects. And you can't transform emotionally, intellectually, without touching on your body. Because at some point, some of us have food addictions, or we have other things that we do to soothe our soul when we're bothered. Well, again, you got to bring them all together in order to transform and continue that transformative journey.
Such a great point. And it is a great point. And that's why when I think about you, Dr. Taz, there are so many things that you've been able to do. And writing these books, sharing your story, empowering others who are survivors of abuse, helping those who have had health challenges like you have with transformation to bounce back. But I also love the fact that you have not shied away from realizing when you have been a part of the problem.
Oh God, yes.
And I love that we've talked about that. I've gotten people have joked with me about a conversation we had, and you and I talked about it on Instagram, where I said something to you that was a traditional Cyrus Webb thing to say, but it was said in such a way that it's like well, how does it feel to and I was very mindful in this conversation not to be able to say, okay, well, Dr. Taz, he preached this, but you don't do this. So you notice in this conversation, I was very restrained.
You were.
I'm transforming, Dr. Taz. That's what I'm doing.
And you're that.
But let me remind our audience, change is challenging.
That's his way out. Y'all hear him? He's quoting me to get the way out, because he's gonna go in for the kill in a minute.
Okay. No, I'm not. No, I'm being very mindful. Okay. Change is challenging. My aunt told me one of my close aunts used to say to me, Cyrus, I want to say I really appreciate you, but do you realize that just because you think something, you don't have to say it? I said, that is such a fascinating concept. that was such a thing. So I want to wrap up this conversation, and we're going to remind our audience about your new show, but I want to wrap up this conversation, Taz, for a message for the audience, because you have gone through a lot. You have overcome a lot. You're continuing to overcome, as we all are transforming. What would you say to our audience as we're heading into a new year about looking at themselves and beginning to ask themselves the question I asked you? How are you, and what are you going to do about it?
That was a good question to start us off with, Cyrus. How am I? And I said earlier, guys, you need to check in 4 times a day. You can check in every hour because things happen so quickly.
Yeah.
But if I were going to give out any sage advice, it would be from chapter 2, because it's still working on me. And I'm the one that wrote the book, and I just taught the lesson, but it's still working on me. And I talk a lot about reflection. And reflection doesn't mean, guys, that you got to sit down and have a journal, a pen, a pad, and just write stuff. But you're always reflecting, even when you're doing housework, when you're doing on your job, you're reflecting. It's a subconscious thing. And I would say, as you move into 2024, the year of new beginnings, new birth, you need to ask yourself, are you making decisions based off of choice or willing obligation? And I say that because if we can ever conquer that, change won't be so challenging. But because we have allowed ourselves to be what other people want us to be, that's why change is challenging. Now, somebody may say, well, Taz, what I was sexually abused. I was sexually abused too. So now help me to understand, like in those cases, how does it impact us? You have a choice. You have a choice. I had many roads that I could have went down as I struggled as a child to dealing with this trauma that I didn't understand. I had a choice. Luckily, I chose the right path. But even if you choose the wrong path with anything in life, you can turn around and go the direction that is best for you. But that means you have to go through the software. Okay, did I willingly make this decision? Yeah. Well, why did I do it? Okay, I did it for that reason. What is the choice that I should make? Okay, I've made the choice. Now, is it going to be easy to then work through that? Am I going to be able to stay focused and stay on track, keep my primary focus? You have to check in with yourself every hour to make sure that you do that. And that's what I would tell folks, and I have a model that I use with clients to help them to do that, because it's different for every person, but you have to consciously do it. I have to consciously do it, because if I don't, I'll end up where I was last year this time, which was sick. I must have been in the hospital. No, I was at the hospital, but still sick, going back and forth into the hospital. But that's because I was foggy. I'm not foggy anymore. I have to take care of me. Without me being good, nobody else is good. And that's what you have to realize. Anyone that's going through anything, you got to take care of you. Then you can take care of other people. So, it's all about lifelong learning, because every incident, every experience we have, we then have to evaluate it, determine what was good about it, what was not, and then how are we going to make it better. And so that's what I would give to them, Cyrus, that dialogue about free will, choice, or will and obligation.
Yeah. Such a great point. Good, everyone. Dr. Teresa Smith has been our guest. I want to get through your comments. Tina Simmons says, we have a choice. I love that. Pele says, thank you for sharing your breathtaking journey, Dr. Taz, and grateful for your platform always, Cyrus. I love and appreciate you both. Thanks for that, Pele. I'm glad you could join us. Deborah says to rewire. Yeah, that's a good one as well. Pele also says there is power in choice. And I love this from Angela. Angela says, wow, I was also in connecting with your journey as a survivor, Taz, and said, and yes, there is a choice. Thank you. And Deborah adds, put the oxygen mask over your face first. That is such a great thing. And it's a great reminder. And look, we all are working on it, myself included. It's something, and I think that's why I mentioned that comment earlier, Dr. Taz. We have to get out of this thing of, we put so much in life on graduating, on excelling, and realizing that really we'll be, I'll be 49 next year. I still don't know anything. I'm still learning. That is just part of life. And I think when we think we've gotten to a place where we don't have to learn anything else, that's when we become dangerous to ourselves, and also dangerous to other people. So I think, being able to be teachable, to learn, hey, I'm still learning this thing called life. I'm still growing. And I think that's going to help us all for sure. Make sure you guys get Dr. Taz's books. All of them are here on Amazon. You have 4 of them are available in paperback and Kindle. Her book, From Bravery to Victory, is only a Kindle edition, but it is available right now for $3.99. You guys can get it as well. Dr. Taz, if you don't mind, again, let them know again about the new show and how they can stay connected with you.
Well, I hope I didn't butcher it, because I'll butcher a name and anything. But I have a new show coming to Instagram on Tuesdays. I am going to be co-hosting with my sister, my blood sister. Her name is Angelia Smith. and we're 18 years apart. And so you guys are going to get a chance to see how we interact, being two different generations, but also siblings that didn't grow up in the same house. Meaning, when she was born, I was already in college, so we never lived under the same roof.
Wow.
And you'll probably hear a little bit about our stories and how we kind of connected. But again, it's going to be on Tuesdays on Instagram. Dr. Teresa Smith is my Instagram handle, I guess is what they call it. And also, if you go to Dr. Teresa Smith, even though you didn't ask me, Cyrus, if you go to Dr. Teresa Smith, you'll find on Instagram, you'll find my LinkedIn tree bio. And so it tells you everywhere that I am, and that's how you can keep up with me. But please join me and my sister. It's going to be unscripted. And someone said to me this morning, well, you're going to go in with a topic. And then I was talking to my sister a little while ago, and I said, they said that, she said, yeah, it's whatever's happening in the moment. Whatever's going on, whatever happened today, this happened, we're going to talk about that. Because I want you to see the naturalness of it. It'll be sort of like me and Cyrus. And so we're going to have fun. She's going to let you guys know that I'm a square. I don't know nothing about reality TV, but I do know Mr. Riley. You guys figure out who I'm talking about. Because when I met him, I called him Mr. Riley. Mr. Riley, he said to me, that's my daddy. So it's an inside joke with me and my sister that I keep calling him Mr. Riley. But you definitely don't watch him on his on the show that he's on. They tell me that he might be on the down low. That's what the Hamptons, Cyrus, Karan, Joseph Riley.
Oh,
I called him Mr. Riley when I met.
Okay.
He said, that is my father. I was doing an interview. It was when I was first getting started, guys. And he said, that's my daddy. I said, okay. And so the running thing with me and my sister is Mr. Riley, because I always want to say Mr. Riley instead of Karan. But I think I got it now. So what's she talking about?
Look, you had me. I was like, who is she talking about? But then when you said, I know exactly who you're talking about. Well, that gives us something to look forward to. Congratulations again to you, Dr. Taj, on an amazing year. Looking forward to what's coming up for 2024. And thanks to all of you for being with us for another great episode of Cyrus Webb Presents. Until next time, I'm Cyrus Webb saying thank you so much for joining us. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.